Tradition 3. Our only requirement for membership is a desire to stop using. There is only one requirement for membership, but membership will require much of us. Tradition 3 swings the door to Narcotics Anonymous wide open and invites us an opening into our own hearts. As long as we have a desire to stop using drugs, our right to membership in NA is unconditional. We may attend meetings for a long time before we decide to become members. When we make the decision, our lives begin to change. Working the step deepens our understanding for membership. We begin to surrender. We find hope. We make a decision. The third tradition confronts us with our prejudice, control issues, insecurities, fears. It also reveres generosity, compassion, empathy, openness, calls for a change of heart. Open minds may change quickly, but to change our hearts, we have to humbly ask. The more real we get, the more willing we are to let go of our old defects, secrets, and resentments. We make amends and clean up after ourselves so we don't have to drag our shame and fear around anymore. Because our membership in NA is secure, we are free to be honest about who we are. NA membership creates connection and belonging. We are a part of something greater than ourselves, and it changes us. There is no single way to be an NA member, no model of the recovering addict. The most powerful message we carry is the simple truth of our experience. Our real value is being ourselves. We are the message of hope. Tradition 3. Tradition 3 at the heart of Tradition 3 is compassion. This tradition ensures that every addict is free to decide whether to be a member through some combination of desperation, courage, anguish, and hope. We find willingness. Desire is not always visible, Desire is not always visible and is not always measurable. Whether our commitment to NA is shallow or profound, above all, it is ours. No one can tell us it is or is not good enough, or that we are not NA material. The door is always open. We can make or unmake that decision at any time. When we surrender our lives and begin to change, after that first surrender, there will be many more, and after the first decision to become a member, we will commit and recommit, over and over. Life circumstances, a move, a breakup, a change, or controversy within the fellowship can lead us to question our membership. It can take as much courage to recommit to NA as it does to make the decision for the first time. Our fundamental equality, expressed through the principle of anonymity, does not mean that differences disappear or don't matter. We can recover in unity. Our differences deepen our ability to be of service. Our principles allow NA to transcend difficulties and sometimes painful issues of diversity. We are often surprised at where we find common ground. We tell newcomers that we are only interested in what you want to do about your problem, and how we can help. Practicing Tradition 3 puts us into action. Our symbol reminds us that the border around the base, the higher point of freedom, our Our diverse membership around the world and within our home communities can help ensure that there is someone to welcome every addict who comes in. Empathy and dignity are available to all. Recovery is not automatic. Our literature states if you want what we have and are willing to make an effort to get it, then you are ready to take certain steps. Lives depend on the answers to these critical questions. Do I want what NA has to offer? Am I willing to make an effort? We may be tempted to think we can answer these questions for others, but no one knows the depths of an addict's desire. An addict who comes around for months or years without putting clean time together might be desperate to get it. An addict who gets clean right away and whose life comes right back together might not take the process seriously. We have no way of knowing for someone else. When others question their membership, especially when a family member or a beloved sponsee is making that decision, we want to choose freely. But we want them to choose our way. It can help us consider that we are simply practicing patience, waiting and hoping and praying that there are times when that their time will come. Tradition 3 teaches us patience. We welcome people back with love and respect, and sometimes for years. We can be loving and still teach each other what we see. We are each other's eyes and ears. When our observations are offered with respect and care, they are more likely to be heard. We approach this tradition from both sides of the door as addicts, considering whether NA is a place we want to be, and as members deciding how best to carry the message. Our message is clear. Questioning or trying to place limits on the openness of this tradition has been a part of our history from the very beginning. Much of our attention to the third tradition reflects our reservations about its simplicity. Protecting ourselves and our program does not mean guarding the door, but making sure it stays open. Setting aside ideas of who should be here and why, or not all who come will want what NA has, and not all will be willing to do the work. It has never been our job to judge other addicts' desire for recovery. Membership issues has a way of resolving themselves. We pay attention to our own motives and behaviors and remember that actions mean more than words. Word by word. Define, expand, and clarify the words or phrases from this tradition, one at a time, in relationship to each other. For writing and discussing with your sponsor and other NA members. Example, only. Only is a short word that packs a lot of power. It derives from the word one, and it means more solely or exclusively without exception. In other traditions, less absolute words are used. Ought and should appear over and over, but we talk about our primary purpose, not our sole or exclusive purpose. In contrast, the third tradition is clear. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop using. Spiritual principles. Each tradition embodies a variety of spiritual principles. The list of principles and values below may be useful as we consider applications to the tradition, explore them in writing, or discussing with a sponsor or other NA members. If other principles and values are not listed below and seem relevant to you, include them as well. Tolerance, patience, willingness, courage, service, compassion, generosity, inclusiveness, responsibility, love, anonymity, welcome, faith, open-mindedness, humility, equality, trust, acceptance. Example, welcome. The white chip and the key tags we give to newcomers include the word welcome. The practice of hospitality or welcome is important to many faiths and cultures. The act of welcoming others changes us. We begin by welcoming people to the meeting simply by making eye contact and offering them a hug to the newcomer and make all the difference in the world to them. And to us, many of us have memories of peering through the blinds, fearful of the mail carrier or the neighbors or shadows. Many of us know what it is like to sit frozen as the phone rings, or the door knocks, or the dog barks, waiting for whoever it is to please go away. Feeling free, feeling welcome, and welcoming others is a new way of life. Helps us see the world as less as a hostile place. Practicing welcome as a spiritual principle can change our relationship to NA and the outside world. For members. Tradition 3 asks us to practice open-mindedness towards ourselves, toward others, and towards the possibility of change. NA was the last house on the block for many of us. We had nowhere left to go. It's not an empty house, though. We need to make our room and make peace with people we would probably never encounter anywhere else. We may be scared of each other. We may have a history. We may have prejudice or blind spots that are perfectly comfortable with. Chapter 8 in the basic test reminds us, however, that addiction makes us one of a kind. The third tradition asks us to examine our motives and beliefs, our trust and ability to love, our open-mindedness, willingness and faith, and courage in carrying the message. Each of us experiences membership in our own way. It begins with the awareness that it's time to stop using. That this is the same mission that fuels our first steps. The practice of the mission is the price of admission is an admission. To be a member, we admit that we have a problem and we want to do something about it. When we surrender our hearts, recovery begins. Our relationship with other addicts change, our experience of meetings change, and our perception changes. The mission of step 1 and the discussion in the tradition 3 are a part of the same surrender. Narcotics Anonymous is a program for drug addicts seeking recovery. Our first step focuses not on drugs we used, but on the disease of addiction. For some members, Tradition 3 offers a way to think about the actions and attitudes that make us unhappy. Long after we stop using drugs, getting in touch with the desire to stop using once we are clean may be about other ways we use. People, places, things, and feelings and behaviors, dramas, to avoid facing ourselves. For other members, this type of thinking feels like a distraction from our primary purpose. Whatever our perspective, the fact remains, addiction may be arrested but not cured. And no matter how far we are from the last one, each of us is one bad decision away from the next one. Our relationship to our own desire evolves. So does our thinking about membership. Membership begins with desire, but it does not end there. This tradition allows us to ask questions from different perspectives. What does it mean to be a member? How do I allow someone else to be a member? The third tradition S the third tradition essay in it works. The third tradition essay in it works. How and why cautions. We are not the jury of desire. A member who had come around for years without accumulating much clean time said, I never did this program like other people wanted me to. I did not, but I did have, if I did, I'd have died years ago. If I hadn't come at all. Finding the patience and the tolerance to accept those members we can't seem to stop judging is an exercise of surrender, acceptance, and humility. Examining our beliefs about membership offers a new perspectives on our commitments at home and work and in our friendships. And in Narcotics Anonymous, we recognize the responsibility of membership in areas of our lives we had not previously considered. We may find reservations we did not know we had, or limits that we put into place almost without noticing it in order to protect ourselves from harm. Those protections may no longer serve us. We become and maintain a community by getting together in lots of different ways besides meetings. Little gestures come to help us feel connected. Many of us remember the first time we arrived. We were invited to coffee after a meeting. Feeling noticed and included is important to us. We are responsible to include new people in these activities. There are no requirements on our social lives, but when we are immersed ourselves in a circle of friends, we do not notice new faces around us. We turn people away without even knowing they were there. One of the most significant ways we deny someone membership is to ignore them. Each of us has a part to play making NA groups welcoming, and everyone doing so requires checking our reservations about recovery of others. A newcomer may seem too young or too old or too beaten down or not having enough or not having lost enough. They may have done the wrong drug or not used like we did. They may still be on parole or take medications we have opinions about. They may be criminals, they may be clergy, law enforcement, they may look at us in ways that gives us the creeps. Addicts may be clean for a long time and still not socially skilled or socially acceptable. They may work their programs in a way that seems different from or even threatening to us. There is no model there is no model of the recovering addict, no profile of the addict who suffers, and no conditions on memberships besides desire, which is in between the addict and their higher power. The miracle of recovery is available to us all, even if we've been clean for a long time. Just as we see the miracle of addicts getting clean, we see the miracle of clean addicts getting better. Sometimes, after many years, allowing each other to change after we have known each other for a long time takes faith, compassion, and open-mindedness. Each of us are better at reaching out at some times in other ways than others. It is good there are so many of us. It's good that there are so many of us. people who come in and out are easier for some of us to accept than steadily attending while on drug replacement therapy. Others of us are exceptionally good at reaching out to the newcomer, but have no patience for those who seek help elsewhere as well as in NA. Sometimes a member hurts us directly or indirectly in the course of a relapse, or they may be locked in a behavior or pattern for which we simply cannot feel compassion. We reach out where we can and make an effort to increase our compassion for those who don't match our expectations or whose recovery doesn't look like our own. We find a home in NA and we find them a home, and then we find them a home inside that home. Within this wide, weird, colorful world of NA membership, we find our tribe. If something changes or a breakup or a move or a death, or that group is no longer the center of our recovering lives, we expand our horizons and our networks to find ways to give back, to make sure that our fellowship is always growing, and we're always growing too. Our fellowship keeps us alive and free, and the work we do is to help it grow, ensures that we will continue to be members and meetings here when we need them. Questions for the members. Questions below offer a way to begin and continue the process of writing and reflection and discussing traditions with your sponsor or other NA members. In NA, number 1. What brought me to make the decision to be a member of NA? What does desire to stop using mean for me in my recovery today? Do I want what NA has to offer? 2. What was it like for me when I came to my first meeting? What were some of the things I experienced that helped me choose to become a member? What can I do to help the newcomer make the choice for themselves? 3. What does membership in NA mean to me? What happens when I make a decision to become an NA member? What are my responsibilities as a member? Have they changed over time? Do I try to hold others to the standards I set for myself? How do my actions and attitudes reflect the decisions to be a member of NA? How is it evident when I share in my willingness to help the newcomer in my behavior in and around NA meetings, or in how I serve in NA? 5. What part can I play in creating an inviting atmosphere? How does it feel to be a part of a group that addicts want to come back to? 6. Have I ever given someone a reason not to come back to Narcotics Anonymous meeting? How do I remain welcoming when I'm just not feeling it? 7. When have I judged other addicts? What happens when I try to determine who will stay clean and who won't? What are the consequences for me, for other members, and for the addict who still suffers? 8. What are the expectations do I have about how others recover and serve in NA? Are these expectations related to NA principles or my own opinions? 9. What are some of the reservations about our open membership policy? What additional qualifications do my actions and behavior impose on people's membership and recovery? How do I reach out with compassion and lack of judgment? 10. How does this tradition help me understand anonymity? How does anonymity help me understand this tradition? How do I practice anonymity in terms of this tradition? Describe 11. Describe the bridges between the tradition and one or more of the 12 steps. What do these bridges teach me about my recovery? 12. What more can I do to put these principles of this tradition into action? How would applying this tradition change the attitudes of and actions in all our affairs? 13. How have I applied this tradition in NA? How else might this principle of this tradition guide my thinking and my actions? (14) Where else in my life do I experience membership? Do I feel part of or apart from? Where else do I encounter requirements for membership? 15. Where else do I encounter required for memberships? How willing am I to accept or participate in their terms? What requirements for memberships do I struggle with in other areas of my life? 16. Where else would I appropriate? Where else would it be appropriate to practice membership in the areas I do in NA, being of service, being a part of the decisions, contributing financially or in other ways? Where else does it mean? What else does it mean for me or to me to practice membership outside of NA? 17. What impact has my membership had in NA made for those around me? 18. What has the third tradition taught me about second chances or about compassion that might be useful elsewhere in my life? 4 groups. Tradition 3 calls the group to create an atmosphere of recovery. We are responsible to ensure that the meeting offers hopes to any addict. Addicts seek help in many places. What sets NA apart from many others is the power of one addict freely helping another. When we recognize the pain in other addicts' eyes, we make an effort to reach out. Membership is the right of any addict with a desire to stop using, but there is no reason someone would know that when they got there. It is up to us to explain what NA is, what it means to be a member, and how NA has helped us. In order to explain those things, we need to understand them ourselves. NA literature, including for the newcomer and an introduction to NA meetings, can help us put our experience into words. It is worth a group's time to consider what information is important and how to share it clearly and consistently. The principles are the same throughout Narcotics Anonymous, but each committee and each group has distinct ways of doing this. The variety reflects our autonomy, and the list of suggestions and are read and printed on meeting schedules. Some groups ask members to raise their hands if they are willing to be a sponsor. There is no one right way, and each group seeks out its own solutions. Creating community includes building bridges and establishments, maintaining boundaries. Our third tradition tells us that we do have a requirement for membership. We must have a desire to stop using. Still, everything is just right. can sometimes lead us to the wrong letter rather than the spirit of our traditions. Every addict should be able to feel safe and welcome at every NA meeting. There is an atmosphere of recovery our traditions foster and protect. Tradition 3 recommends us that the spirit, the warm and welcoming respect, empathy that make NA feel like home. Care for the newcomers is a sacred trust. No matter what is going on in our own lives, sharing with a suffering addict is an opportunity to get outside ourselves. Empathy creates identification and offers gratitude and perspective. One of our deepest challenges for the group is to remain open and still create a safe, hospitable atmosphere. Group unity is a powerful sense of community and can protect us from the challenges that come open with membership. A strong NA message, clear boundaries, and a loving higher power and unity can protect us from ourselves and many ills of the societies around us. We do our best to safeguard those who are vulnerable without making others feel unwelcome. Some people come to NA to do harm, sell drugs, and engage in other destructive activities. Groups may struggle with predatory and exploitative, inappropriate, and violent behavior. There are times when actions is necessary to protect members from dangers. But when problems are resolved without crisis or disrespect, the NA demonstrates its differences from the places we came from. Finding peaceful ways to help addicts recover in dignity carries a powerful message. We gain by ignoring difficulties and stand to lose much if we avoid the challenges we faced. The group can seek solutions before reacting and creating more problems. Just like in our own lives, we can't solve a problem until we identify our part. Our service pamphlet, Disruptive and Violent Behavior, the PR handbook, and the members who have been through similar challenges can help protect the group and all its members. Groups can't refuse an addict membership, but sometimes our actions and attitudes push people out. A member shared, when our marriage broke up, I resented anyone who was nice to my ex. I said I wanted what was best for her and prayed for her sometimes, but then I still stalked social media and got mad at my friends who were still friends with her. This kind of drama can be dismissed as foolishness. But when our actions are inconsistent with our principles, it affects the group as well as our personal recovery. Making space for each others to recover can sometimes be challenging, but the rewards are great for all involved. We practice these principles because they are essential for our freedom from active addiction. The simple respect we show when we allow an addict to recover in dignity, even if we find them attractive or have a history with them, may be a spiritual gift beyond measure. Sometimes physical barriers can get in the way of a welcoming atmosphere. We may not notice the accessibility of our meeting space, for example, until the addict with additional needs tries to attend. Our informational pamphlets, Accessibility for Those with Additional Needs, offer guidance on how to ensure that all addicts can make their way into the meetings and find a message of hope. We all follow guidance of Tradition 3, considering whether meetings are welcoming to all addicts in our community. Seeing addicts in different ages and clean times from different communities, cultures, faith, habits, backgrounds tell us, each of us, there are room in NA for us all. Sometimes groups have to work a little harder to ensure that the newcomer who doesn't seem to fit in can feel welcome. When I walked into my first NA meeting, there was no one there who looked like me, but the group welcomed me and encouraged me to stay. One member shared, I made sure to stay so that the next newcomer who looked like me would feel like they could stay too. It may be useful to have a conversation about how the group can be more inclusive, but sometimes the question of who's missing from our meetings is one we can't easily answer ourselves. We can access how welcoming we are if we pay attention to whether newcomers come back. When we make a decision to join a home group, we might not know we are about to fall in love. When we make a decision to join a home group, we might not know that we are about to fall in love. Still, much of the time, that's what happens. We take pride in our group, and we are glad to see people recover in an atmosphere we help create. We come to love our group and the members in it and the place we meet. Our willingness to act in the spirit of unity and service opens the door for all addicts who care to join us. Group inventory questions. The questions below offer ways to begin to continue to regroup. We continue to group inventory our discussion focus on the traditions. On this tradition. 1. What does our atmosphere of recovery feel like? Why is it important to generate an atmosphere of recovery? 2. How do we carry the message that is both clear and welcoming? How can we help newcomers understand our message? 3. How can our group communicate what it means to be a member? How do we support those who have yet made their decision about our membership? 4. What is missing from our meetings? Is there something our group can do better to provide a welcoming atmosphere? Is our group accessible for those members with additional needs? 5. What is the relationship between welcome and anonymity? Does our group welcome some addicts better than others? 6. Do we make judgment or assumptions about who will hear the message and who won't? How do those judgments get in the way of practicing Tradition 3 without reservations? 7. How do we ensure that our group is a safe place? What can a group do about predatory behavior? How do we address situations where a member's presence threatens our members or other members? 8. How can we apply the third tradition when we are challenged by a disruptive member? What should we do about disruptive or offensive behavior? How does our group respond to members who share in ways that make other members feel uncomfortable? 9. Can a group put additional requirements on membership? 10. What is the difference between group membership and membership in AA as a whole, or in A as a whole? 11. Do members of our group have strong social bonds with each other? Do those bonds make the meeting feel inviting or intimidating? How can we help others feel included? "12. Does this tradition help us understand anonymity? How does anonymity help us understand this tradition? How do we practice anonymity in the terms of this tradition? 13. Discuss any bridges between this tradition and other traditions. What do these bridges teach us about our group? 14. What more can we do to bring principles of this tradition into group efforts? What could we do differently to better fulfill our primary purpose?" In service. Everywhere that addicts suffer, our message is the same. any addict can stop using drugs, lose the desire to use, or find a new way to live. This is a clear connection between the third tradition and the fifth. We want all addicts to feel welcome. We want to do our best to carry the message. Our task in service is to ensure that addicts have an opportunity to recover in Narcotics Anonymous. The third tradition reminds us that any addict in our message, we work to ensure that NA recovery is available to us all. Tradition 3 asks us to return again and again to the question, who is missing? And reminds us that every addict with a desire to stop using is important to us. Our service bodies carry the message to addicts in our communities, even if they cannot come to us. The HETI, which is jails, institutions, and even rehabs, carries our message into hospitals and institutions of all types. I guess the HETI is a service board, is a service committee through NA. For homeless shelters and treatment centers and penitentiaries. HETI outreach or concerned members may bring meetings, homebound, or ill members to hospitals and care facilities. Through public information and public relations, we give presentations to professionals from correctional officers with incarcerated addicts to doctors whose patients may be addicted. We maintain meeting schedules, phone lines, and websites so that addicts seeking recovery can find us. To ensure that only requirement for membership is the desire to stop using, our services continually reach out to places where addicts are seeking help. It isn't always easy, but it's our responsibility. This is always more to do toward making NA membership available and accessible. We don't have the power to determine who will stay clean, but we do have some ability to determine who will hear the message and how they will be welcomed. Sometimes the missing addicts are those who don't speak of different social classes, but don't speak the dominant language in the community. In other places, women or addicts of different social classes might have a hard time feeling at home in NA. We yet, whatever the gasp, whoever we're not reaching, there is always more we can carry our message to and make recovery available. We don't need a title to make a difference in Narcotics Anonymous. Whatever we are putting away, chairs or distributing meeting lists, serving on the committee, or giving an addict a ride to the meeting, there is always more to do. NA members have all the opportunity and the responsibility to serve. What does it mean we serve in any position, anytime? As members, we are equal, but that does not mean we are all qualified or eligible to do the same service positions at the same time. Some members are better at talking to newcomers. Some are good at getting the literature distributed or bills paid. Or our fourth concept suggests that leadership qualities can be carefully considered when choosing trusted servants. We know these are not the only qualities that matter. Finding where we can be most effective in service is rewarding, and so is service that presents a steep learning curve. Service position has the skills and support to rise to the challenges in a manner that will be best for everyone, most especially the still suffering addict. When we select trusted servants, our primary purpose rather than favoritism should be our guide. Our job is to do our best to ensure that the member is in the right position, and the right position is right for the member. When we do, it benefits both the member and who serves NA as a whole, and the service bodies shouldn't be run like popularity contests. Keep service positions within a sponsorship family, or exclude members who may have challenges, who may challenge the consensus. A service body may fill a service position or leave it vacant because it is the best interest of NA as a whole. Decisions about who serves should always be based in our commitment to carry the message. Tradition 3 does not mean we can behave however we want to in the meeting. It does not mean that we can do whatever we like in service with no accountability. When disagreements arise, we are obligated to set limits to others and respect, to address problems with care. Every NA member has a right to recover in dignity and be treated as an equal. In the same spirit, our trusted servants have the right to serve and recover in an atmosphere of mutual respect. Even when we disagree, the ability to keep coming back is always a life or death issue. And it is not our place to allow differences or even wrongdoing to rob any act of membership. This is not easy. The benefits of learning to resolve conflict in a spirit of love and unity are apparent in all of our relationships. Sometimes the circumstances aren't right for us to serve. That doesn't have to be a reflection of our value as a member. In one small area, a member with many years clean had served the PR committee for most of their time in NA. She knew that the job was amazing, and was amazingly good at answering hard questions. Then she got sick and had to take some pretty strong medication. She did it with the help of, in times of illness, sponsor and an NA friends, and no one questioned her recovery. The side effects were significant, though, and when she gave a panel presentation, she appeared to be impaired. The committee members understood her situations, but the audience did not and could not. It was none of their business. That day, in spite of her recovery and service experience, she was not a good spokesperson for NA. It didn't mean her service was over, but it was time for her to step back and help other members learn how to present as well as she once did. Narcotics Anonymous is much larger than it once was. Our fellowship spans the globe, and our groups are growing in places very far from each other, both geographically and culturally. Our third tradition makes it possible for membership to be the same for addicts in very different places, and for our message to be heard and understood in dozens of languages and cultures. One member shared, "The beauty of NA become real when I saw a member at an NA event embrace and sit together with their home countries were on the brink of war." We may notice this more when we see strong differences melt away, but it can be just as powerful to sit in on a meeting or serve another addict with whom we have had personal conflict. Our only requirement to membership is the desire to stop using, and our vision is that it will be possible for every one of us to find recovery in our own language and culture. We hear NA speak to us in words that understand and experience the freedom our program promises. No matter who we are or where we are, Tradition 3 opens up the program to all addicts with a desire to stop using. That allows our fellowship to grow and develop beyond our wildest dreams. Workshop questions. The questions below will offer a way to begin or continue service discussions or workshop focused on this tradition. 1. What are the relationships between the service body and still suffering addict? 2. Who is missing from our meetings and how and why do outside issues affect opportunities for addicts recovering in NA and in our community? 3. Are there some addicts we think we cannot reach? What reservations do we have about reaching out? 4. How does the service body help grow groups and reach all addicts in our community? What challenges do our groups face practicing Tradition 3? How do we assess the groups we serve in their efforts? Is there more we can do? 5. How does the body welcome new trusted servants? What kind of support do we provide in new trusted servants? How do newcomers participate in service? 6. What are some qualifications for service beyond desire to recover? Why are they necessary? What kinds of opportunity to serve are available in this service body? 7. How does our own relationships with anonymity affect our ability to serve? How does our understanding of anonymity help us accept how others serve? What consequences could arise from having our anonymity compromised? 8. How does this tradition help us understand anonymity? How does anonymity help us understand this tradition? How do we practice anonymity in the terms of this tradition? 9. Discuss any bridges between this tradition and one or more of the 12 concepts. What do these bridges teach us about our service efforts? 10. What more can we do to bring the principles of this tradition into our service efforts? What could we do differently to better carry out our services? Our third tradition offers relief from reservations we might have about membership and about each other. We have nothing to prove, no one to impress, nothing to lose but our needless suffering, and nothing to gain but our freedom. This simple declaration makes a commitment to unity, anonymity, and the power of the program. Making the decision to join Narcotics Anonymous is the first of many decisions we will make as a member who had been utterly controlled by our addictions and are now free to make decisions that serve our lives and the lives of many others. When we make a decision to try NA, we have no idea where it will take us. Our desire starts on a journey that can set us free from our obsessions and compulsions. This decision is the beginning of a new way of life for us, joining in fellowship with others and finally freeing ourselves.